Hi! Welcome back to another tutorial, to another video. Today we are going to talk about a very important topic. No, not chords. Why chords? No, something else. We are talking about chords. Thank you very much for the numerous feedbacks and comments you have sent me during the last weeks. I noticed that one question kept popping up. What do you play in your right hand? Which chords do you play? Etc. And because of you, there is this tutorial now. Thanks. In my left hand tutorials, I always mentioned that you should play only chords in your right hand until your left hand grooves. But I was never really aware of the importance of chords. So if we play a boogie-woogie, even if we improvise, we play a lot of chords. And so that's why this tutorial is about chords, what you can play, with tips and tricks, how you can find them very easy. So this tutorial is going to be very basic with a little bit of theory. Before we start, I would like to talk a little bit about the 12-bar blues form, because these are the main chords that we use in boogie-woogie. I will show it to you on my computer. Boogie-woogie is played in the 12-bar blues form, and the lead sheet for a boogie in the key of C looks for example like this. Here I'm going to show you the root chords. So we have three chords: C7, which is the 1 chord, meaning it is the first chord in the C scale, F7, which is the 4 chord, meaning the 4th chord in the C scale, and G7, which is the 5 chord, meaning the 5th chord in the C scale. And as you can see, there are 12 bars. These three chords are the root chords. Of course, you can add some other notes as well. I will show you this later on the piano. All three chords have a 7 behind, which means all chords are dominant 7 chords. There are two kinds of 7 chords, major 7 and dominant 7. I will show you in a minute on the piano what's the difference and how you can find them very easy. In boogie-woogie and blues we only use dominant 7 chords, unless we play a jazz blues. Then we also have other chords, but we are just going to focus on the regular blues and boogie form right now. Here is another example in the key of F. In the 10th bar you could also play the 4 chord, so it would be a B flat. It is important that you know the scales of each key you play. It would be very helpful here that you know the scales for F, B flat and C, so you can find the dominant 7 chords easier. If you don't know the scales yet, I just found a very helpful website, pianoscales.org, and here you click on the piano major scales, and then if you scroll down you can find all the major scales in all 12 keys. You should also be able to play all triads in each inversion. This is also very helpful to find the chords anywhere. I also found a great website on this topic. You can find the link in the description below. And now, let's go to the piano. Let's begin with a boogie in C. Once again, all chords in the root position. C7, F7, G7, C7. As I told you before, we only use dominant 7 chords. This is a C7 chord. You can find the dominant 7 chord easy by going a whole tone down from an octave. So here, this is an octave. You go a whole tone down and then you have the 7. With a triad, the 7, you have a C7, like this. And this is a major 7 chord, which is a half tone down from an octave, which we don't use in case of boogie-woogie and blues right now. So only 7 chords. This also sounds more like a blues. Of course, I wouldn't play all chords in root position during a boogie-woogie like this. That's why I mentioned that you should learn each chord in all inversions. So root position, first inversion, second inversion, and the third inversion. Instead of playing a C7 in root position, I would play it in the second inversion like this. Root position, first position, second inversion. With this technique you are closer to the next chord. You don't have to do these long movements over the keys. This is why I think it is important to learn all inversions. C7, second inversion, F7 in root position, G7 in root position, or you can also play the C7 in the third inversion. And here is a boogie with these chords. By the way, there is also a tutorial on this channel about the left hand I use now. There is an extra tip for you. If you play any chord in C and you play the third, which is the note E, and the seventh, which is B flat, you just have to go a half step down with both notes, then you are already on the third, which is the A, and the seventh, E flat, of the next chord, F7. C7, then a half step down with these chords, then you have the F7. Here another example with C6, the third inversion, to F7, just half step down with the third, so you're here on the 7. Here another example from C7 second inversion, which is this, to F7. You see, B flat and E, half step down, then you are on F7. Instead of playing a dominant 7th chord, you can also play a 6th chord. Here is an example for a 6th chord. Root position, first inversion, second inversion, third inversion. This also works with the two other chords. Instead of a F7, you can play a F6 and G7. You can play a G6. Here is an example with the C6 chord, third inversion. You can also add the 9th to the 7th chord like this. The 9th note is in the 2nd octave. First octave, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So, which is the note D. Sounds like this. You can add the 9th to the two other chords as well. C9, F9, G9, F9, C9. Also the 13th note is in the second octave, and in the key of C it will be the note A. A C13 sounds like this. C triad with the 7, then you need the 9th and the 13th. This sounds also very nice with a boogie-woogie. You can also use the chords to improvise. For example, you have a C13 in your mind, and then you have a F7 or a F9 in your mind. You can play them. This is also a very nice exercise to learn all chords. Here's an example. Chords are also a powerful tool to make a nice transition to the next chord while improvising. Here is an example from C6 to F9. Here a second example in the key of F. Here are some extra tips for you. I use a lot of slides. So this is a C13, and I slide down with the second finger to the third. So in every key you have different notes you can slide. So here is an example. In D you can't slide the third, but you can slide the fifth. Maybe you have noticed that sometimes I use my thumb to play two notes at the same time. So a C6 for example, like this, or a G7, 7 and the root together. So I need sometimes a very powerful chord, so I try to play as many notes that I can. And so here is an example how I play a powerful C6 chord using the thumb for two notes. I always try to keep the chords in one area to avoid long movements, like this for example. I also use chords to breathe, so after a very virtuoso sequence you can go down and play chords that will give you some extra dynamic to your boogie, and you can relax with your fingers And also your listeners will appreciate it. And now a short boogie with improvisation, with chords, including a lead sheet, so you can follow me. Okay, that's it. Once again, very important. Learn all scales in each key, at least in that key that you play. Learn all inversions, including the 7 chords in all keys. And, very important, if you like this video, hit this like button. And if you haven't subscribed to this channel yet, do it, I would appreciate it. While editing this tutorial, I noticed that I forgot to tell you something very important. So please let me know what tutorial I should plan next for you. So please leave a comment. And I will see you in the next video. Bye! To another tutorial. You're going to talk about chords. I mean chords. You're talking about chords. No, we are talking about something else. We are talking about chords. Something else. We are talking about chords. We are talking about something very interesting about chords. We are talking about we are talking about chords. Oh, wrong chord. We are talking about something else. About chords. Yes, about chords. Chords. We are talking about chords. 5 of spades. Why not 5 of spades? No, talking about